Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a focused look, really zeroing in on the story of Siddhartha Gautama's birth and his very early life.
Yeah, and our main source for this is actually a pretty detailed YouTube video transcript. It lays out these foundational moments quite vividly.
Right, and our goal here, our mission if you like, isn't just to retell the story you might already know.
No, exactly. We want to kind of pull apart the core pieces from this specific telling. You know, the key events, the relationships that formed right at the start, and those really significant prophecies about it.
The idea is to give you a kind of condensed but rich understanding of this foundational narrative, sticking closely to what's in this particular transcript.
Because let's face it, there are countless versions of this story out there. So focusing on one account helps us get a clear picture of its specific details.
Okay, so let's dive in. The transcript kicks off with this moment of huge joy, right? News reaches King Suddhodana.
His wife, Mahadevi Maya, has given birth, a son, and it happens in Lumbini Grove.
And you really get the sense of just how important this was. It wasn't just personal joy, it was dynastic. The Shakya clan finally has an heir.
Absolutely. The kingdom was waiting. You can almost feel that collective sigh of relief and, well, excitement in the description. The weight of expectation is huge.
And almost immediately we get into the prophecies. The cool guru, the royal preceptor, he looks at the baby's horoscope.
And it's not straightforward. It's extraordinary. The reading suggests, well, two paths, basically. Either a Chakravartin,
a great emperor, a world ruler, essentially.
Right. Or something else, something maybe even more profound. The transcript really highlights this fork in the road right from the get-go.
And this kind of dual prophecy, it wasn't unheard of for figures like this, was it? Worldly power or spiritual greatness?
No, it reflects that potential. But the tension is obvious. Which path gets valued? And the king, well, you can guess which one he's leaning towards.
Definitely the Chakravartin. Yeah. The powerful ruler to, secure the kingdom, continue the line. It fits the mold.
It fits the expectations of a king of that time, of that society. Makes perfect sense from his perspective.
But even with all this celebration, the transcript introduces a note of, well, not exactly discord, but maybe unease with Mangala.
Yes. Her reaction isn't quite the same as everyone else's. It's described as somewhat negative when she hears about Siddhartha's birth.
And there's this subtle link made to her own son, Devadatta. It feels like a little seed of future conflict being planted very early on.
Well, you have to think about the court dynamics, right? A new heir potentially changes things for everyone, especially for other members of the family with ambitions for their own children.
Like Devadatta. So her unease could be about his future prospect, his standing.
Quite possibly. Succession and lineage were everything. Any perceived shift in that hierarchy would cause ripples, concerns about power.
Okay, so amidst all this, we have the arrival of Asita Muni. He's presented as this really revered sage.
And interestingly, a former Kulguru of the Shakya clan. So he has history, he has authority, his appearance feels significant.
And his reaction to seeing the baby, it's profound. Not just a standard blessing. The transcript says he immediately recognizes something special.
Yes, the 32 marks. The signs of a Mahapurusha, a great being. In that cultural context, these weren't just random features. They were understood indicators of an extraordinary destiny.
So seeing these marks leads directly to his prophecy.
Exactly. And it's a prophecy that throws a bit of a wrench in the king's plans, you could say.
Because Asita doesn't predict the Chakravartin, the great king.
No. He declares Siddhartha will become a Samyak Sambuddha, an enlightened one, a fully awakened being, not an earthly ruler.
And the transcript shows King Suddhodana's disappointment pretty clearly here. His hopes for a warrior king seem, challenged.
It really crystallizes that conflict, doesn't it? The worldly ambition versus this immense spiritual potential that Asita sees.
The sage sees something beyond kingdoms and power.
And there's that poignant detail too, Asita weeping, because he knows he won't live long enough to see Siddhartha reach enlightenment. It just underlines how momentous he believes this potential is.
Wow. So quite a heavy prophecy laid out there. Yet the kingdom moves forward with the celebrations. The naming ceremony happens.
Yes, he's formally named Siddhartha, with Gautama as his lineage name. Life goes on, the celebrations continue.
But that tension, the king's hopes versus the sage's prediction, it just kind of hangs in the air, according to this account.
It does, and the transcript also makes sure to introduce other key people around this time. Prajapati, Mahadevi Maya, even Shanna the charioteer.
Setting the stage, showing the immediate circle around the young prince. These people will obviously be important later.
Exactly. It grounds the story in that familial and social context, even as these extraordinary prophecies are unfolding.
And then, there's another prophecy mentioned, a much sadder one, concerning Mahadevi Maya herself.
Yes, the transcript states, it was foretold she would pass away just 7 days after giving birth.
That's incredibly tragic, right after the joy of the birth.
It is, and it adds this layer of sorrow and impermanence right at the beginning. It also directly impacts Siddhartha's upbringing, of course.
And Maya knows this. The transcript mentions her request to Prajapati.
Yes. Anticipating her death, she asks her sister, Prajapati, to raise Siddhartha as if he were her own son. It shows her concern for him, even then.
The king must have been devastated.
The narrative depicts his grief, yes. Initial regret, perhaps questioning fate, but ultimately accepting what was foretold. And Prajapati promises Maya she will care for the child.
A heavy start for the young prince, losing his mother so soon.
Definitely. And then, right after this loss, the transcript brings Mangala back into the picture with a specific request.
What does she ask for?
She apparently expresses a wish to raise Siddhartha herself alongside her son Devadatta.
Oh, interesting. Given her earlier reaction, that feels potentially loaded.
It certainly adds another layer to those court dynamics we talked about. Is it genuine care? Is it ambition? A desire to influence the heir, perhaps keep him close to Devadatta? The transcript leaves it a bit ambiguous.
And how does the king respond to that?
Well, according to the video's account, he agrees, but sort of hedges his bets. He acknowledges Mangala's offer, but also reaffirms Mahadevi Maya's wish for Prajapati to be the primary caregiver.
So a kind of shared responsibility.
It seems that way. Prajapati takes the main maternal role, fulfilling Maya's wish, but Mangala is also involved. Perhaps the king's way of balancing things, keeping everyone, well, relatively content.
Okay, so let's try to summarize what we've pulled from this particular transcript in our deep dive today.
We've seen the birth auspicious, yes, but immediately layered with complexity. We've got these powerful, contrasting prophecies, great king or enlightened being.
And the profound early tragedy of losing his mother, Mahadevi Maya, which shapes his immediate upbringing with Prajapati taking over that role.
Yeah, and for me, the real aha moments are seeing that clash between the king's worldly dreams and Asita's spiritual vision right at the start.
Also those subtle hints of friction, like Mangala's reactions, setting up potential future dynamics with Devadatta.
And just how quickly all the key players, Prajapati, Asita, even Channa, appear on the scene. Their roles feel defined very early on.
So for you listening, think about this beginning. This is the origin point, according to this source, of a figure whose story changed the world. How do these initial events, these prophecies, this early loss, set the stage?
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. You have these two powerful yet starkly different destinies predicted the ultimate ruler or the ultimate enlightened one. What forces, internal or external, do you think ultimately steered Siddhartha? Imagine growing up under the weight of those completely opposing expectations. What kind of pressures would that create?